Hey guys, Kevin here. So I have an issue with Nick Fuentes and America First. But before you groypers start calling me a boomer in my comments, I want you to hear me out because my critique is valid. See, I like Nick Fuentes. I like what he says and I like how he communicates it. In fact, in many ways, Nick Fuentes reminds me of myself, maybe not that age, but before I went to the war, when I was a little more sheltered, but very ambitious, very hopeful, very sharp and boisterous. And I think those are great qualities, especially in a political pundit and a political movement. I think that 20 years ago, Nick Fuentes and America First would have changed the foundation of America forever. They would have rocked our world. But sadly, we're in 2020. And 2020, that youthfulness of the movement, that hope and ambition, it's all for nothing. Because what America are you going to put first? Are they talking about the corporation of America? Well, that's always put first. Are they talking about the geographic location of America? You know, that magic place we're always told has special crystals under the soil which make everybody prosper, so everybody in the world should come here and they'll all prosper. They'll all be free because of our magical freedom crystals. No, that's not the America they're talking about. They're talking about the constitutional republic with an originalist interpretation of the Constitution, and that America no longer exists. So how can we put it first? They are far too hopeful. They are far from being as black-pilled as we are, I should say. But our black-pilledness is not unmerited. I've heard Nick Fuentes say this himself. The demographics that are becoming the majority in this country, they do not have an originalist interpretation of the Constitution. In fact, they don't even know what the Constitution is. Half of them think there should be exceptions on the First Amendment. More than half think there should be exceptions on the Second Amendment, including crazy things like universal background checks, assault weapons bans, mandatory registration. Meanwhile, their primos in MS-13 all have guns, and they're not obeying the Constitution. They bought them off the street. But that's okay. You see, we know how things go. We know that the rules the left set are not for certain groups, but are definitely meant to apply to one specific group, and it's usually white males or Christian Americans, people who are not in their protected classes. And we see this all the time. We're seeing it right now. I read an article a few days ago about a university, I think it was Harvard, that had shut down graduations because of lockdown, but decided that they were going to go ahead with the graduation ceremony for black students. So whites and Asians stay home, but black students, they're going to have their big graduation ceremony. And there's stories like this all the time. And it's only going to get worse, guys. You know, you want to put America first? Great. But what America are you going to put first, as I said? Because after 2020, we are never going to win an election again. And when I say we, I mean those people who are nationalistic, who are right-wing, who have an originalist interpretation of the Constitution, meaning the Constitution should not be altered or changed over time. It's not this living, evolving document. Hell, if it's a living, evolving document, it might as well be Mother Goose, right? I mean, you could put anything into it. And the way things are going, we see how crazy the left get, especially, you know, when they're unopposed. I mean, look how far they've gotten in the past 10 to 20 years with opposition. You know, they already have their boots on our necks. They already are suppressing speech, are trying to take away our property rights, our gun rights, and accomplishing that in many cases, in many states and many localities. They are doing just that. In fact, right now, during this crisis, we are seeing just a taste of what these people want. And the media is cheering them on. And what are we doing? Well, we're doing nothing. A few people are protesting, mostly boomers, not the America First guys. I don't see them out there protesting. So what are they going to do? Have a fight on TikTok about this? Yeah, it's too little too late. Fact is that we can't put America first anymore. We have to come up with a new plan. After 2020, we will never win again. And it's only by the grace of God, because the Democrats are running Biden on the ticket, that Trump has a chance. And because he's an incumbent. If it weren't for those things, a right-wing populist candidate would not even have a sliver of a chance. And sure, we can wake up a few people on the left. We can get through to a few people in these different demographics. And that's great. But without a location and a constitution set in stone to back up or support that location and that community, what does it mean? Nothing. So, what's the plan? Well, the plan should be to revolt, to push for secession movements, to push for a revolution. And I don't just mean a thought revolution anymore. You know, I used to say that a lot. We need a revolution of thought, and we do. We do need that. But the fact is what we've seen during this lockdown is that these people only respond to one thing, and that is force. When those people start showing up to the Capitol buildings armed, that's when they start listening. That's the only time that they pay attention, is when they actually feel a little bit afraid of the people they're supposed to represent. When they realize that we're not just some worthless minority that they can step on. Hell, we're a majority still and they're stepping on us. Imagine what they're going to do when we are a minority. And this is the same group of people that talk about how we're trying to oppress minorities because we don't want open borders. Or because we want, to keep prisons open. We don't want to just decriminalize everything. We're somehow oppressing minorities. So yeah, that's my issue. Is that there is no America left to put first. And if you want to uphold these principles that are in the Constitution and you want them to be set in stone, we have to find a new place to set up that Constitution. We have to start moving to one state and build from there. Maybe a place like West Virginia. They've been really good lately. Maybe a state like Louisiana, or even a territory like the Appalachia area. That's the only way. We have to start moving to areas with like-minded people and taking over those areas and using that local power to push back. And then maybe secession. Otherwise, there's only one other choice. And you guys know what that is. So yeah, that's my rant. I like America First. I like what they're doing. I like what Nick Fuentes has to say about things like going into TikTok and taking over the TikTok app and then moving to the next app where the young people are and getting through to them there and planting these seeds, edgy memes, things like that, bringing up stuff like the Rothschild banking family or derivatives or things like that, things that will get people to dig a little deeper. That's great. That's great. It's good that we have somebody fighting on all those fronts, but we need to also fight geographically. We also need to fight physically. We can't just try to win the war of ideas, because we've seen what that's got us so far. Nothing. Very little, at least. And how can you fight a war of ideas when you're constantly being censored? When you're constantly being slandered by the media? Anyway, guys, I'm out. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you later.